Astellia is a Korean MMORPG that costs £22 and I'm not paying that, but thankfully they've got a free version called Astellia Royal. The Steam page promises me strategic battles, collectible card game mechanics and breathtaking faction fights. That sounds brilliant! I wonder what it's actually like. Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Dreyfus and this is Worst MMO Ever, a show where I play the worst MMOs I can find so you don't have to. Drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff, ring the bell so you don't miss a single future video, and as usual, a big thank you to my supporters on Patreon and subs on Twitch who keep the channel going. More on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. This week we're playing Astellia Royal. Now, the original Astellia is a buy-to-play Korean MMO which gets pretty bad reviews on Steam. It's also hard to convince someone to spend £20 on a random Korean MMO when there are so many other, more well-known MMOs that would cost you less. So they released a free-to-play version called Astellia Royal. Let's download it and give it a try. First off, it's almost 47 gigabytes, so I'm expecting some stunning things. The Witcher 3 is just shy of 40. If you want more hard drive space than The Witcher, you have to be something pretty special. The game launches in my favourite way with a creepy martial arts doll staring at me from a PNG splash screen. Then the intro movie begins and we get the best voiceover the local community theatre could provide. Sit back and enjoy.
In the blighted lands of Maglev, the seeds of corruption and violence were sown by the demonic forces known as the Karza. Darkness threatened to engulf the world of Astellia. A shimmering star descended from the heavens, awakening the latent abilities of Yuria. She became the most powerful Astellian to ever live. By the will of the stars, she was charged with restoring the world to its natural balance. Numerous victories led her to be proclaimed as a hero of the kingdom. Despite her efforts, the corruption of...
By now, you might be noticing an issue, and the same issue happens with almost all translated or localized games. The English voiceover doesn't match the English subtitles, and in some places it's just completely different. Or the speed of the subtitles and the voice don't match, so one ends up way ahead of the other. By the end of this video, they are completely out of sync. It's almost as if I've been given two separate backstories. So there's only one European server, and it's described as smooth. Oh yeah, the smooth server. You got 5 classes to pick from: Warrior, Assassin, Scholar and Mage, but only the first 2, Warrior and Assassin, can be male or female. The other 3, Archer, Scholar and Mage, are female only. I hate gender locking. I've made an entire video about why I hate gender locking. I want to play as a mage, so I guess I'm forced to play as a small girl. There is a character customization, but even recording this footage, I feel I'm on some sort of list, so let's just get straight to the game. Another cutscene. Let's enjoy it together, because graphically, they aren't terrible. Game starts, standard third-person camera, WASD movement, space to jump, and my god, that's a lot of user interface icons to throw at a player in one go. I know they probably all get used eventually, but that's a tad overwhelming from the start. This is RuneScape 3 levels of overwhelming. It's strange because the game has a tutorial which assumes you've never played an MMO, but also enough icons to confuse you unless you've played an MMO. Chat to this NPC and oh, the conversation cutscenes are not good. They've tried to do that Guild Wars 2 thing of having the character models talk at each other over a blank background, but the voice acting isn't matched to the lines, and the lines themselves physically appear in the same place regardless of who's talking. You should have the character's spoken words appear by the character, not just in one place. Back to adventuring, and why doesn't my shadow connect to my foot? Why am I floating very slightly above the ground? The music reminds me of early PlayStation 1 RPGs. You know that super generic plinky plonky village music that every JRPG had in the late 90s, early 2000s, peaceful and pleasant while also being instantly forgettable. So the plot of Astellia Royal is you are an Astellian, a powerful magic person who can summon Astells. So is your sister. The evil Dark Lady is hunting down the Astellians because... honestly, do you care? Does anyone care about the plot of Astellia Royal? If someone said to you, hey, I'm looking for an MMORPG with an engaging plot, would anyone on Earth reply with, ooh, then you need to play Astellia Royal? No, they wouldn't. The plot in this game is irrelevant. No one knows, no one cares. The world map is fine. Click to move, which is nice. Same with the minimap. And now we're at the combat tutorial. Double tap a direction to dodge. Double click a target to attack it. Press K to open the skills menu and drag your skills to your hotbar. So far, so good. It's pretty much how every other Korean MMORPG plays, and I'll be critiquing combat more thoroughly later on. Pick up and put this entire horse in your pocket. Not a horse whistle, not a summon ability, just the whole horse. And now I discover the game has auto move, because why bother exploring if the game can do it for you? Clicking on a quest on the quest list on the right hand side automatically moves you to the next location. No need to interact at all. Now this system is used to save on travel time or in mobile games when the travel controls might not be as accurate as the PC, and as we'll see later, it's used in this game because there is zero reason or actual ability to explore off the beaten path. Everything in this game is a linear path, and following it isn't gameplay, it's just a time sink between combat. The local village is under attack by demons, and I have to commend this guard for being the bravest MMO guard. Giant red demon appears and this dude just stands and gets ready to fight. He must be related to those guards in Skyrim that attack dragons on sight. The demon then goes to kill our sister, and we get whisked away into the empty, timeless void and spoken at by the clockwork doll. Her name is Rota, and she is an Astell. She turns the wheel of fate and has decided to call us master. So in true Korean fashion, not only are we super special magic awesome, we've now had the master of fate itself instantly swear loyalty to us. Oh, and everyone involved is a small girl. With Rota on our side, we fight through the demons. You have several Astell equipped at once, links to the F keys on the keyboard, but you can only summon one at a time. Each Astell has an auto and a special attack. Rota's auto attack draws enemy aggro, so she is the perfect tank while we stand back and throw magic around. I am a support character in my own adventure. Another cutscene and we meet what's clearly Shiva's gothic cousin. This evil cleavage lady wants our sister because of her magical Astellian powers, so she summons a demon to fight us. The fight is relatively boring, to be honest. All the aggro is on Rota, so we just throw in attacks, and even auto-attacking I will win. This is a perfect example of style over substance. It looks acceptable, nice flashy spells and particle effects, but I don't feel engaged in this. I'm not making any choices that will actually affect the battle. To open your game with a feeling of your input doesn't matter that much creates a real disconnect between the intensity of the action shown and the intensity of the gameplay felt. Demon dies and more cutscenes. A new magical cleavage lady shows up, but we know this one is good because she's dressed all in white. She casts a protective bubble around all of us and a magical battle of cleavage begins. This cutscene's actually okay. There's some nice slow-mo magic shots, the good lady wins, and we are teleported away. The loading screen now lets us know that Rota's gear of fate is 88 kilograms, so all you Astellia Royal cosplayers out there now have an accurate weight to aim for your cosplay. Straight into another action-based cutscene. A giant golem is attacking this seaside town, smashing his giant rock hammer into the sea and causing tidal waves, or driving rocks toward us like golf balls. And this is the start of the actual game, so guess what the first thing we get is? That's right, an unavoidable full-screen cash shop pop-up. No shame. No shame whatsoever. Also, the pacing seems a bit weird, to go from instant action to instant action, but without any actual connection. I don't know who this golem is. I don't know why we should care about this town. Talk to some NPCs locally and discover the demons are after the Astellia, and that's me and my sister. So instead of running far, far away, we decide to help out and try and fight them. And this is a story beat I have a real issue with. Pacing in stories matters. Start relatable, build up from there. Start with your characters in an easy to understand situation. Let us get to know who they are. Let us explore the local area, then slowly ramp up the intensity and place us in more demanding situations. Starting in the most intense situation you can imagine is a hallmark of many Eastern MMOs, because the writers think jumping into the action is therefore better. The character will enjoy it more. The player will leave if they aren't engaged in the first 5 minutes with flashy action, but all it really does is bombard the player with so many systems, so much intensity, and so many plot points they all blend together and become one giant formless blob. It's hard to care about 5 or 6 main magical overpowered characters if you're introduced to all of them instantly, and also we need to save the world. The opening of this game is a pacing mess. But oh, I get my 30-minute login reward. Of course this game has that system. Can't have people actually play the game through virtue of gameplay alone, can we? They might leave. Best give them a reward for remaining here. Some local soldier asks for help and we go and fight the demons. Now the ambience isn't bad. Music's decent, there's a lot of NPCs engaged in battle. The golem in the distance looks awesome, but despite looking dynamic, it's actually very static. None of the soldiers or demons engaged in battle actually harm the other. You have to do everything. One soldier then suggests we fight the giant centurion, that's the proper name for the big thing in the distance, by firing the cannon. And why did nobody else think of this? You've got guys standing around doing nothing and you have to wait for a magical girl to come along before you think, hey, we should fire the cannons. Okay, I'm going to rant about story and gameplay design for a choice. I refer to these types of games as dead world games. Not because the gameplay or the player base is dead, but because it should be based on how the NPCs act. They stand around doing nothing. Every NPC in this world would die because none of them do anything. The soldier doing nothing asks us to help and didn't help himself. We're asked to fire a cannon, but no one else is doing this. These are the kind of games where the lumberjack asks for 10 logs but isn't actively trying to get them, or the shepherd needs us to gather 10 sheep but isn't trying to do it, or the king makes us a knight because he needs more knights and none of his current knights are good enough. The worlds of these games would die without us because everyone involved is an idiot and society relies on the player to even function. The entire game is an unrealistic backdrop to the adventure the player is having. I do not feel like I am existing or adventuring through a fantasy world because this world would never ever exist. Another cutscene and we meet Scion, a magical ice Astellian who commands totally not Shiva. She tries to freeze the Centurion, but fails. Seems there's a magical energy crystal close by blocking the Estelle powers. So we find it and go to break it. It's on the beach being guarded by 2 demon mages. And guess what these guards do when we start attacking their crystal? That's right, absolutely nothing. These are the worst guards ever. Now we adventure up some cliffs to kill the enemy demon summoners, and look, combat is strange. The small mob fights are pointless because they can't hurt you and you kill them in one shot, but there's so much UI and so many flashy effects it's kind of hard to track what I'm even doing or what's happening. And because the game hasn't given me enough time to get used to the skills and abilities I've got, these large mob fights end up being a spam fest where I'm just pressing every button. I mean, I'm winning, but I'm not sure how. Then we get to a one-on-one fight with an elite enemy and it's actually half decent, but I've leveled up so much and gained so many new skills without having a chance to test them out. So game designers, if you give a player a new skill, you should then present them with a situation where using that skill is either required or optimal to teach the player through gameplay what it can do. Do this for each ability and it's known as a hidden tutorial. The player will amass a vast arsenal of skills but also understand the correct situation to use everyone in. If you level me up and give me 3 or 4 skills between fights, I'm then having to stop and read tooltips, which kills the flow of the adventure you're trying to create, and I'm not getting a chance to see what they can each individually do. I still think it's cool how you can see the Centurion in the distance though. That's good storytelling, a use of sightline to keep the event we're trying to stop visible to the player. Another cutscene, and I swear to God, the first 2 hours of this game is just cutscene. Oh, we have another evil cleavage lady. Seriously, are there no tailors in this world who don't abuse the boob window? So now good boob window casts a magical shield around herself because this is actually a tough fight for her to win. Then evil boob window summons Gaia the Fierce Knight in attack position and breaks the shield to attack good boob window's life points directly. The voice acting just disconnects from the subtitles so heavily it's now essentially two entirely different stories going on. Our sister gets kidnapped by the evil team and then we jump into a 4-month time skip. In 4 months, we haven't moved. We're in the same place, the same cliffside, surrounded by the same people, and now the game begins. Again, this is like the 3rd time the game has officially begun. Here's a really irritating system. You can lock your camera to your mouse for an action-style cam gameplay, but when you target over an NPC, it makes a clicking sound. And it makes it every single time you hover over. Just have a listen. That is going to get very annoying very quickly. So we need to rescue Faye, that's our sister. We talk to the local guardians and learn about food. There's 2 types, regular food and bite-sized food. They're basically passive buffs and you can stack regular and bite-sized together. Then we're told about atratonics, magical potions that let us summon 2 Astells at once, because I bet that won't be a feature sold in the cash shop later. And then I can click on the reward icon in the top right for more stuff, just by virtue of playing the game. I wonder if I can move these icons or get rid of them. Oh, no you can't. You cannot move the time logged in reward icon, that is just stuck there. And here we see why auto move is in the game. You cannot jump down the cliffside. In fact, we'll see you can't drop off most ledges or run freely around most maps. You see, while Astellia Royal looks open world, it is very, very hemmed in. It's very controlled. There are miles of invisible walls keeping you from running off on your own. You don't get rewarded for exploring because you basically can't explore. You are kept into a very specific set of what are essentially, as far as gameplay is concerned, corridors. Auto travel is in this game because even if you wanted to explore off the beaten path, you can't. So we're off to the town of Mayville to speak to the knights. The town looks beautiful, people standing around doing nothing. Again, it's a dead world. NPCs exist simply for me to interact with them. The leader of the knights then tells me there's been some kidnappings and the knights can't help. So he sends me. Why? You don't even know me. I'm literally a child and you just assigned me to find some other missing children. Oh, and I've leveled up again and gained even more skills, but I've not been given the chance to use them, so combat's just going to be a mess of all these abilities thrown together. But there is a crafting tutorial delivered to you entirely through a massive text dump, because who needs in-game instruction, right? Who needs story and plot threads that introduce techniques and gameplay elements when you could just have a massive wall of text? If you're wondering how good the voice acting is, by the way, it's exactly this good.
A kidnapping in a peaceful village like this? It has to be the doing of someone outside the village.
So we head outside the village and there's another cutscene. Of course, the children are being taken by a local farmer and given to a giant otter. Props to the game, I did not see that coming. So we go and hunt down this giant otter. I literally try to follow the direction the otter left during the cutscene and no, invisible wall. And also the minimap doesn't have a quest arrow or a marker on it, meaning you need to open the world map or use the auto move feature. This game really doesn't want players going off or exploring by themselves, because doing that might throw off the linear adventure they've created. Search the local forest for the kids, kill some more otters, or as the game calls them, Kyo. None of them have any aggro, so I can just walk freely among them while interacting with all the quest clues. Combat is flashy but not substantial. I target an enemy, press a button, and their health goes down, but no matter what skill I use, the health goes down by roughly the same amount. I have a variety of skills, but no reason to actually use that variety. It's not substantial enough to do anything different. I do not feel victory over any enemy has happened because I made good choices. I feel it's happened because the game needs it to happen to keep young, naive players feeling powerful. In most good MMOs, you have the ability to die if you make poor choices. In Astellia Royal, you can stand in the middle of the mob and still mostly be fine. I tested it. You can't even jump down this cliff for a surprise attack into the village. You have to run around. Why won't you let me do a flying ninja leap into a village of evil otters game? Why do you hate fun? In this village we meet an Estelle being cooked in a giant pot, and this is a moment I will regret forever, meeting Pisces, because her voice acting later on, my God, we will hear how bad it is. Free her, she runs off, and then the game takes us to the first dungeon. The fights in this dungeon feel weightless. Maybe it's because the enemies attack Rota, so whenever I use her aggro ability, she is now the focus. Maybe it's because every spell of mine looks different but feels mechanically the same. Maybe it's the lack of any actual danger, but this is the very definition of going through the motions. This combat would engage someone who has never played an MMO or a video game before, someone with no standards for how combat should actually feel. It's not exciting because I don't feel that any of my choices are actually impacting anything in any relevant way. It's not dangerous because I don't think that the enemies have any chance of killing me. It's not engaging because nothing is actually happening moment to moment that requires me to be engaged to survive. There are some enemies doing some attacks and then me doing some damage, and everything kind of works together in this massive mix of grey. It's incredibly colourful and yet at the same time so mechanically boring. And then I run out of mana and I can either use a potion or just wait. So I decide to wait for a bit and explore the menus. And on my active skill menus, I see a skill called Yo Man. The hell is that? So I click it and... Why? Just why? Oh look, there's another strangely named icon. I have no cat. Let's click this. The skill descriptions of both of those dances also include hashtags, so I think they wanted you to tweet this. This is the audience they are aiming at. They have put more effort into the motion capture of this dance than into the entire English localization. Find the boss of the dungeon. He is toying with the water Astelle Pisces. He's also called Lustful Buno Buno. I'm just hoping they don't know what lustful actually means. They just chose it at random. Otherwise you have a bunch of kids kidnapped by a lustful enemy, and that's just all kinds of wrong. This boss is the first fight where I need to actually dodge anything. Some red circles do appear on the ground as standard. Use the double tap dodge. The boss attacks the Estelles the whole time, so I'm just a support DPS. With the boss dead, we go and rescue some of the kids from some barrels in the back of the arena, then return to the village we found Pisces at, where she asks to join us on our adventure because we are Astellian and she owes us for saving her. Next quest needs me to return to Gina, so I use the auto-run feature to get back to the Knights. If you're going to force me to travel through your world, either give me the ability to actually explore it, as in removing all of the invisible walls, or have stuff actually happen as I travel. As this game currently stands, auto-travel is basically a glorified loading screen because nothing happens between story beats. Back at the Knights HQ, we are once again treated to the finest voice acting Craigslist can supply.
The Karza cult must be behind the missing children. Please, you must allow me to investigate.
How much more are you going to sacrifice? Do you not feel any guilt from watching Scion's death?
Scion would not have wanted us to stop here. If the Knights won't do anything about it, I will take responsibility.
That angry guy was Handamar, and the rest of the plot now revolves around him. We need to find out some more about him, so we go and ask the Lumberjack. Because of course, why wouldn't you? If you want to know about a knight, why would you ask the knight captain or another knight? No, obviously you'd go and ask the Lumberjack. This MMO is a linear story with no side quests, no exploration, and no ability to be anything but what the game demands you be. Every single NPC just stands around waiting for you to fix their problems. This is a linear power fantasy without engaging combat and with an incredibly confusing plot you are launched into with no preparation for. The Lumberjack tells us the Karza cult is likely behind the kidnappings and they have a base close by, so we should infiltrate it, and then the game throws a stealth section at me. You have to creep through this small puzzle-like area with 3 guards walking on preset paths back and forth, and if you get spotted, you get sent back to the start. You can't fight, you can't kill anyone, you have to remain undetected. Doesn't matter that we can kill demons, these 3 guards would clearly overpower us, so we must remain hidden. So clearly, stealth is going to be very important when we get to the cult's main compound. Unfortunately, all the guards' paths don't quite sync up, so sometimes you have to backtrack and wait quite a bit, but after you do manage to sneak through undetected, you spot the main camp, and guess what your next objective is? That's right. Kill everyone. Why the hell did you make me sneak past 3 guards only to have me drop stealth once in the actual camp? That makes no sense. Another cutscene, and just watch this and see if you can spot the same thing that I spotted. You have to listen for it carefully.
I am not an Astellian. I tried, but I failed to become one. But then I met the real Astellian. Now I serve under her. Why she had to abandon Norden and walk this path.
There's no reasoning with him.
A traitor has no place here. Anyone who has betrayed us in the past will do it again.
So they've got this really cool voice effect for the bad guy. It's a male and female voice speaking in sync. Sounds really interesting. But on his last line, they just switched voice actor in the middle of a cutscene. Why? You know what I want to do? I want to open all the icons and see if anything interesting happens. You can often tell a lot about a game by how many systems it has. The more unconnected systems, the more likely it is going to push you toward the cash shop to max them all out. And this is a free Korean game, so it's no surprise that's going to happen. The Astellia collection is a gacha-style card system. There's also a cash shop where you can buy garish outfits, or mounts, but only 2. There are only 2 mounts. Here's an interesting touch. Shows you what they value. Every icon has an open and close sound, and they're all the same, apart from the cash shop, which has a little chime. Just listen. Also found a bug. If you open and close the latest event window quickly, you'll cause this error window. Not game breaking, it just happens every single time, and I found it really easily. Oh, I've got a free Astellia card pack it seems, so I open it and get some Grim Reaper-like thing and then test it out in combat. It does not fit with the cutesy aesthetic at all. Tiny, tiny cute me, tiny cute Rota, and this hellish Black Reaper next to each other. We journey on toward the Star Caller Guild next because we haven't had enough fantastical sounding names thrown at us, and now Pisces' voice acting is getting absolutely insufferable. She's written in that cutesy anime way where she apologizes for everything. I know it's done to make the player feel powerful and dominant, make the player feel like they're protecting a precious little delicate flower, but I'm not 14 anymore, so it's just grating. Have a listen to Pisces and her crippling self-esteem issues.
Master, we should go look. Since you're the Astellian, it would be great. Say, did something happen? I'm so sorry. Pisces didn't really feel anything. Right? It doesn't seem like they're the culprits, does it? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even said anything.
Everything. Everything she goddamn says is an apology. She apologizes for even having an idea. I mean, I'm pretty damn weeby. I'll discuss Steins Gate and I've had Levi mode on repeat for a week, but this is too much. Only the weebiest of weebs would enjoy this. Oh good, the Pope is here too. The environment looks decent, but everything seems a bit too saturated. The colours are all a little bit too harsh, and I should know, I am the king of not colour correcting properly. So this game actually launched a month ago on Steam to 600 players, and within a month has dropped to a daily maximum of around 100. That is dire. And I cannot overstate how annoying Pisces is.
I feel sorry for the Gordo children. Can we help them out? I'm sorry. There I go, running my mouth again.
We find the abducted children behind a waterfall cave, but they've also tagged the boss wrong. They have the boss monster nameplate saying abducted child. How does someone miss this? So we rescue the kids, then return to the fishy things, then we get given some magical medicine made from pre-chewed food, and part of our next quest involves Pisces eating this medicine, and Jesus, just listen to this conversation between Rota and Pisces.
Hold it in. The moment one of you throws up, this place will become vomit hell. Pisces, what is that coming out of your mouth? Swallow it back, now! Swallow it!
Nope, that's it. I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. It's over. I can tolerate the bland combat and the auto movement and even the nonsensical plot, but the moment you force terrible voice acting between two clearly childlike entities about not vomiting it up and swallowing it back down, I am out. I'm quitting. I'm done. I am deleting the game and expecting the police to show up at any minute. Astellia Royal has the standard "you are magical and also the world's only hope" plot, told mainly through cutscenes, quests that will auto-walk you from A to B, combat that plays out the same no matter what skills you use, and absolutely insufferable voice acting aimed at people who own body pillows of Mikasa Ackerman. The gameplay is linear, the exploration is non-existent, there are more skills thrust onto the player than they have chance to fully explore, and the help menu isn't even formatted correctly. You see, this page has one word cut off and the final letter start on the next line. The sentence on this tutorial page doesn't even work. It says items can be stored in the bank except items bound or certain items. Great, so stuff can be stored in the bank apart from when it can't. Top-notch explaining. Despite having 100 players, I didn't see anyone, because the linear nature of the game means you'll move through the world in a set path and everyone will gather at the end. Good MMOs have the majority of the world remain relevant most of the time, and they start you somewhere populated so you can see other players. Basically, I can think of absolutely no reason for you to download and play this game unless you're really into K-pop dances and cringy waifu voice acting. To end the review, I will rate Astellia Royal Try Not to Vomit out of 10. Cheers for watching. Thank you again to my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make my content possible. You can support the Patreon from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and our Discord. And as always, have a great day.